Excellent. Thank you guys so incredibly much for joining us today. So, I actually pulled an affirmation card because I like doing it. I feel like it brings a little bit of peace and joy for all of us. So, today's is Today I Am Brave. Today I will step up to every challenge with courage. And so, here's today's affirmation card. And it gives everyone a little bit of time to click in. So, I know you guys like to watch, ask your questions. Yeah. Hi, Alan. Welcome. Excellent. So I did go through everybody sent in a lot of questions this week, which was amazing. And so I want to just dive right into some of those. Amanda sent a couple. And so the first one she said was, what really killed the dinosaurs? And so it's actually ironic because I was just watching something that showed the T-Rex and it showed it in a different light. So now we're starting to figure out that perhaps the T-Rex had wings. And so we look at the tiny little arms in the T-Rex, right? And so the joints are actually turned around. And so they're meant to be facing the other way. It has to be a wing. There's no other way. So if you take a look at that, we know that, didn't they tell us that the T-Rexes were chicken? Or something like that. So if you turn the wing around or you turn a little arm around, it just makes more sense that would be some type of flying animal. And so, yeah, welcome, Sunshine Coast. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. It only says Facebook user. I don't know why it does that. I'm on the Restream app. Yeah. So what really killed the dinosaurs? Now, we all have to realize that it's a reflection of a holographic simulation of a frequency that's inside of us. So in my personal reality, I could tell you what killed my dinosaurs, my reality and my timeline. And so in my timeline, I have observed that there could potentially have been aliens threw a meteor at the Earth and it blew everything up. And then it created like a fog, which then in turn killed my dinosaurs. And so, but not every single person is going to be on that timeline in that reality. And so some people, they will never have had any of this information come into their conscious awareness because they're not magnetically in alignment to have that experience in their physical reality. And so just be aware that even big events that have happened in our history, this is called the Mandela effect. And so we can see how I can remember a history one way, and then we can have a different person and they can completely remember it a completely different way. And so each and every one of us is plugged into the simulation in our own timeline bubble. And so when we really step onto that path and we step into that realization that, hey, this is a simulation. We can control the simulation by changing our frequency. The past, present, and future, it's all happening right now in this exact moment. And so my past is my past because that's my frequency. And there are certain abilities that each and every one of us can tune into, and we can actually go inside of ourselves and make changes to the past, which then in turn, when we open our eyes, we will see those changes reflected into our current reality in the now moment. Now, be very aware because time travel is real. However, the way time travel works, the star people are saying, you can go to a point in the past with your technology. However, that point in the past is technically considered your future. And so any changes that you make to that point is not going to reflect in the now moment because that past is now your future in the now moment. However, we're talking about consciousness. When you pull your consciousness back, it actually flows up to the higher self. And then all of a sudden you can make changes to the timeline frequency that you are currently embodying now in this moment. And so, yeah. Oh, the audio is bad. I'm super sorry. Yeah, there was a lot of storms. It's like crummy by me too, but I let it be crummy today. So I figured sometimes the rain comes and it cleanses and pures the emotions of the location code. That happens every single time it rains. And so this is another reason why you may feel when we can sense when it's going to rain. And so we may have aches and pains coming up to the surface. And that's actually because we're meant to dance in the rain. I know it sounds silly, but your energetics are directly tied in to the weather pattern. So if you feel pain and then all of a sudden it rains, it's because that pain is coming up to the surface. so that you can go and ground your feet to the earth, jump and dance and sing in the rain. And then all of a sudden that rainwater cleanses and purifies your emotion grid. That's just how the process works. We're connected to the earth. And so me as an adult, do I want to go outside and dance and sing in the rain? Not alone, but if my kids come, I will do it with them. Yeah. Okay. Someone told me I was an instigator in creating the dinosaurs. Wait, it moved. Oh, an instigator in creating the dinosaurs. Is this correct? I would have to tune into your energetics and pull that information out. And not only that, but just because you did it in one parallel reality does not mean that you've done that in every single parallel reality. So it's all up to you. You should actually go in and do an Akashic reading for yourself. And so I'm a big fan of empowering people to do things themselves. You do not have to pay readers. You do not have to pay. You can get a YouTube video. You can also just put yourself in a meditative state and just allow. And so when you allow, you're releasing and you are allowing the information to come to you. You can call upon the angels and the guides. And so the extraterrestrials, the star people, there's so many different beings here who want to help us. And so when we just start asking for that help. Now, I remember it was over 10 years ago. I really thought that the earth was going to be blown up. I was like, we're going to blow ourselves up. This civilization it's going to tank, right? That's where I was at 10 years ago. I really thought we were going down. And so I remember one night going outside and crying. And I was like, if anyone's up there, can you just save us? And so now all of a sudden the star people are here. And so that's actually a really good thing for each and every one of you guys. So if you guys can just go and just ask the star people to help assist us with saving the planet. And so that actually allows them to come in and help us. And so remember, we are dealing with free will. And so when you ask for their help, then they're allowed to come in and they're allowed to spread love and light and assist in raising the frequency. And so, yeah, it's amazing. Do you have any messages for me and my star family? I don't do that on the live videos anymore. It got to be too much. Because you have to realize that when you're tuned, it's a highly sensitive, empathic ability. And so when I tune into people's emotion grids and their thoughts and their energetics, I'm pulling a massive amount of information very rapidly. And so one example, if you get headaches, I could feel a headache start to form in me. And so I had a session with the lady once, and she had massive, massive headaches. And I had a headache for 24 hours after the session. And so for a while, I was doing that online for 20, 30, 40 people and tuning into all the energetics. It got to be way too much on me, because after that live, I had to go and saltwater bath and do a full energetic clearing. Yeah. Yeah. Archangel Michael wants to hear from us more. Yeah. All the angels do. And so not only that, but each human individual, depending on our location and our birthday and all this information, binary codex, we're actually connected into 3 different angels. And so I highly recommend that each and every one of us, we research what our angels are, who we're connected to. When you start to work and interact with the angels, you will notice divine things happen to you. And so when I first started, I thought it was mumbo jumbo. I'm all go team science, but start calling on them and start allowing the communication to form. And you're very, very wide, because you'll see miracles in front of you. Yeah. Welcome, Melissa Bruno. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming. How do we release our subconscious shadows, which will assist us? Everyone has subconscious shadows. And so the beautiful thing about the situation is, and actually I just got into a conversation the other day. I don't know with who, with somebody, but they wanted to know, right? We have the darkness and the light. And so it's a human perception that we see the two things as separate. They're not separate at all. It's one frequency wave. And so just imagine you're adding density. Density is what drops you into the physical reality. The more dense something becomes, it's like putting a shade or darkness over the top of the light. So that can be considered the human form. That can be considered the physical reality, right? Any item in the physical, it has density. That density is a form of shade or coloring, the star people are saying. So that coloring is what gives us the perception of the physical reality in the now moment. And so just imagine that you are a pure ray of light in a very, very high frequency, and then you drop down into the physical reality, and that frequency wave is slowing. So it's granting you access into a color spectrum, which is the primary chakra color system in the physical reality. Now, that octave is in your physical body, and it reflects out into the civilization. Now, that octave goes down another level below your feet. That's the dark realm or the dark octave. And so that's actually where the lower vibrational beings or entities or shadow people, whatever you want to call these things, that's where they come from, the octave below our feet. It's just another octave with more density. And so those beings came here, and it was kind of like an accident. So it's just a bad situation. They got stuck here, and so they had to make the best do, which is why we send them. We're just at peace with it. Don't send them love and light because it could blow them up. Anyway, off the topic. So that's how the octave ranges work. Now, 5D is more crystalline in its nature. And so the 5D frequency is very high frequency. And so it's very rapid. Now, just imagine this is where the angels are. They're beings of light. But when they drop down the frequencies and they come into the physical reality, they have to take on length times width times height. So they are 3D in a form. This is another reason why you should never judge another person, because none of us know. We can't really see. We can kind of sense when you get to a certain level, but none of us really know for sure who's who on this playing field. Some people in physical bodies that look like homeless people or bums, right? They're actually angels who dropped into the physical reality to test us. And so you should be nice to every single person. How do you find out which angels are your three? You have to go online. And so they sell an angel deck, which is kind of like a tarot card. And so there's a little booklet or pamphlet in there that tells you exactly who you're in alignment with. The dark brings fear for us now. Well, that's the thing that we have to overcome. And so the light and the dark is one frequency. If you have a look at the Kundalini channels that are inside the physical form, you're going to notice that there's a light wave directly in the center, and then there's a darkness that's wrapped around it. And so if you have a look at, let's say, how life starts, right? So the human embryo, we start in darkness, and then all of a sudden there's a flash of light. And so the light comes in the darkness, and then all of a sudden a baby starts to grow. 9 months you're spending in darkness, and then all of a sudden that cycle is done, and now you're in the light. It's actually a little bit closer to 10 months, though, if you think about it. So, yeah, do the math on that. And then not only that, but you also want to have a look at the cycles. So we can follow a calendar cycle according to the sun. That's great. That's actually a masculine or logical way of perceiving time-space. And so when we get to a certain point in our consciousness, we're going to want to start following the moon cycles a little bit more, or even putting them both together. And so the moon cycle is directly tied into the feminine energetics. This is why it has an effect on the fluidity of the female reproduction area, they're saying. And so that happens 13 times per year. So the women getting that cycle 13 times per year basically is showing us that, hey, maybe we should have 13 months. And then how many days are in those months? That month every month should be evenly with their dates. And so then we're actually going to see that the year actually does have 13 months. And so you want to go according to the moon cycle. That's actually very important, because when the feminine becomes fully activated on your planetary system, they are saying that it is going to change or shift the way that each human individual interacts with not only the environmentals, but the manifestation of the complete physical reality is going to change and shift. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, there's a little light coming from outside, so it's a different in the lighting. Isn't the moon alien base? It is a base. Yes, it's some sort of craft. However, when humanity dropped in the level of consciousness, then all of a sudden something had to be done to actually bring our evolution back up. So what was done was they put the moon there. And so you have to realize that the moon is hitting us with an energetic that's coming from the sun. It's all connected, but it's hitting us with an energetic that's pulsing our density. And so what does that mean? We see a lot of people during the full moons having accidents, tragedies, traumas, all sorts of the darkness comes up. And so it forces us to deal with our density. And so what it's actually doing is once a month, it's pulsing us so that we remove the karma from our energetic grids, which allows us a more rapid evolutionary shift. And so, yeah, Saturn is giving us a frequency too. And you can have a look at the rings of Saturn because they shift, they move. And so what happens if we have sand on a plate and you put a frequency or a speaker underneath it, that it's going to have movement. And so the rings of Saturn are not solid. They are moving. The rings of Saturn also, like, Nobody can explain why there's rings there. And so we know that there's a frequency being radiated. However, there's also scientific proof that there was a planet blown up in our little happy solar system. And so that's what caused the asteroid belt. And so there's a high probability that all of that space dust and material gravitated towards Saturn because they're beaming off a frequency and it got stuck in the magnetic loop of it. That kind of makes a lot of scientific sense when you think about it. What can assist people with painful foot issues like plantar, all that stuff, arthritis in the bones? Yeah. So that's actually funny because I had really bad calluses in the bottom of my feet, and I took a Numite stone. And so the Numite stone, it's black, and it helps manifestations. This is also the Master Magician crystal. So anyone who's trying to do manifestations should do this, Numite. And so it was gifted to me by one of my close friends. And so what I ended up doing was I took it and I started rubbing it on the bottoms of both of my feet. And then I started putting lotion on my feet all the time, 2 or 3 times a day. And every time I put lotion, I said, thank you for healing. Thank you for being high frequency. And thank you so incredibly much for the experience. And so when you continuously focus on giving love and being appreciative and being grateful for the experience, but you're focusing it with your hands and you're putting your hands on your body and you're rubbing. And so putting lotion all over your body is of high value to each and every one of us. It does not have to be lotion. The star people are saying it can even be an essential oil. So if there's a particular plant that you know is your cure, if you take the essential oil, but make sure it's a type that's good for the skin and it's not going to burn you. But some types are too strong. And so, but just taking it and rubbing it in and thank you for the experience. I love and bless you body, right? And so just keep doing that and being happy and grateful and positive and sending it love from your heart. It will heal. And not only that, but it will heal very rapidly. And so when we sit there and when, like, let's say you break your arm, all of a sudden it's in a cast and you're not looking at it. There's a reason why that gets itchy. Okay. And it gets itchy because your body is trying to send you a signal so that you're placing more focus on it. You're supposed to be loving and lighting it, paying attention to it. If people did that when they had a broken bone and they just sent love and light, let's say they set an alarm on their phone and they did it every single hour, I guarantee you it wouldn't be itchy or as itchy. And so that's because you're placing the focus that it wants. Anytime you get a cut or an itch, it's because there's something in the energetic grids that's in an imbalance. And so many times, or even a rash, you could get a rash like on your, now this is a good one because my palm, we all have different lines on the palm. You guys can't really see on Facebook, but the different lines on the palm, the center is the money line. And so there's been different times in my life, like when I first accepted my mission to be a channel, it actually started itching. And so you'll see superstitions or online, they'll tell you if your palm itches, it's money is coming or abundance is coming. And so when it itches, it can form a type of rash. And then that rash will typically start touching on all the lines, depending on what you're trying to manifest. And so that's a sign that you are magnetically in alignment with that manifestation. And so you'll notice, but a lot of times it will also crack and bleed. And so that happens specifically because it's kind of like releasing the blood is releasing any karma instantaneously, which allows the manifestation to fire off very rapidly. And so some cuts are actually a blessing. All cuts are to release karma and density, but specifically when you're trying to manifest something, it'll show up on your hands or your feet first. And so a lot of times with the bottom of the feet, you'll notice diseases or distortions will pop up there. And so just be aware and you have to be aware. And not only that, but we're going to need on Earth, we're going to need books that come out that show us the complete meridian system. And so that includes every single wrinkle on the face, every single wrinkle on the hands, on the bottom of the feet. The Chinese have this. They have a lot of information. A lot of it seems correct from what I've seen, but I haven't really dove too deep into their systems. That seems like the beginner, because the energetic grid structure that surrounds your aura field, that also needs to be brought out to the people, because sometimes you have an imbalance. And let's say, for an example, the imbalance is in the sacral chakra. It may also tune into the heart chakra, and then it may tune into the pineal chakra. And so when you know that it's connected to all three, there's a certain subsystem in the energetic grid, which will also be highlighted. And then that energetic grid tunes directly into the meridians and the ley line systems inside the physical form. This is important because whenever you're starting to see symptoms can be, for an example, let's say You had an imbalance in one location in the body, and now all of a sudden 2 or 3 other things is going wrong. Those are all symptoms. They're all connected. Everything is connected. And so when you have one thing wrong with you and it's 2 or 3 or 4, that's how you know that all of that imbalance is generally coming from one thing. It's all one imbalance, even if it's a massive imbalance. And so there's been people on this planet, they have developed cancer in like everywhere, and they got sent home to die. And then all of a sudden, that happened to, he ended up on the news because he took a dog dewormer, fenbendazole. And so he had cancer in his head. He had, tumors all over his lungs. They were like, they sent him home to die. And he took fenbendazole. And then all of a sudden, it changed everything for him because he healed the cancer in a couple of months. And then he went back and he was healed. He made the news. Check the news. He's on TikTok too. And so it's just amazing. And then the research on, parasites and parasitic things, that needs to come out too. And so when we start noticing all of these things, it's like, okay, they're all connected. So if a parasite is causing imbalances in all these systems, right? So we can heal the energetics, and then all of a sudden we'll manifest a cure to get rid of the parasite. It will just fall into our lap one way or the other. Yeah. Let's see. Your hands have been extremely itchy, wakes you up. I've been trying to ask. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, Melissa. And we've just done an energetic clearing on you too. So it's no wonder, because when you realize my energetic clearings are very strong. And so a lot of times people level up very rapidly after we do them. And so, that releases the density and it allows new energetics to come in. And so if your hands are itchy, that's a sign that you're about to step into a new abundant timeline. Yeah. Excellent. Let me see. I just do the crystal. Yeah. This is so true. On Thanksgiving, when you did my reading and clearing with my grids, we talked about my face and wrinkles. Yeah. When I tell you my face is so clear, I'm grateful to you. Thank you very much. And you took your power back. That's excellent. And that's what I want to see for every single person, right? So we don't have to hoard money, right? Give it all away. Share. And so not only that, but share knowledge, share everything that you have with each other, because together is when we rise. And not only that, but the economics and the situation that we see outside, this can all be solved overnight if we change. And so the way that we change is by changing the entire consciousness grid. Do you guys think that a single child should starve? I don't. And so I'll go out of my way to feed them. And this is how, when we change our consciousness, and this is the way that we think, then all of a sudden the entire planet will shift. And so this also has a lot to do with the way that you spend your money is your vote. So if you do not like a corporation and what they stand for, stop voting. Stop spending your money with that corporation. I personally would like to see everything come back down to mom and pop shops, because when you spend your money locally at a mom and pop shop, that shop owner is going to spend the money in the local area. It is not going to be mass funneled up to some yada yada corporation that's taking the money and doing whatever they want, and they're not doing what's right for the people. So the entire economy has to shift. That shift, they're not going to shift it because they're happy with being on control of the power, right? They're at the top of the pyramid. That's an imaginary pyramid. So we have to be the change. And when we are the change and we say, this is what we're going to do, and I can already see this happening, because look at what's going on with the crowdfunding. The crowdfunding scene, whenever people see something that they want to support, all of a sudden everyone is dumping money to support. So we help each other and we come together and we are a community. And so when we really take this concept and tell all the people around us, you guys should hear what I do when I walk into like gas stations and like pizza shops. I'm like, guess what? And I start telling random people. And even if they're not awake, they still can understand the basic concept of the information. So it's share, just totally share any and all knowledge and information, even if you have to put it in such a way where it's simple, it's not very specific, and you break it down so everyone can take something away. Yeah, excellent. Actually, I think that was one of the questions. Let me see. No, it wasn't. Okay, question number 2. How do I activate a vortex and water bending abilities? That was a good question. All energy flows in a vortex. So I've been going over this in the past couple of videos. And so you have to realize your DNA spirals in a vortex. It's up in a circular form. A lot of the source frequency comes down your body in a triangle in a vortex. And so the triangle is inside. It's made of 3 different frequencies. Those 3 different frequencies are the points. And then it spirals down in a vortex. Time, space spirals in a vortex. And so we do it this way because we can understand it, but it's actually coming from inside of you. And it's ricocheting out, and it comes back in to form a sacred geometric snowflake, which is known as the physical reality. And so how do you activate vortex abilities? It's already inside of you. That's the way your personal energetics are flowing. And so what you want to do is you want to just broadcast them, right? So if you are standing on the earth, you imagine that that vortex is inside of you. How does it feel? How does your energy feel when it's shifting up and down and it's going in these circles? Now, if you have a look at any plant in the physical reality, that plant, if you took a camera on it, the plant grows in a vortex naturally. So Mother Earth is already generating these type of vortex energetics inside of her, and it releases them up and out. So when you're taking your shoes off and you're stepping on the earth, what you're actually doing is you're allowing Mother Earth to generate this vortex. It'll go up the physical form, out the crown chakra, and it'll tune into the earth grids or the human consciousness grids. It's all the same thing. And so when you want to generate one, you just close your eyes and visualize Mother Earth sending you a vortex. Feel it. Imagine you just pulling it ever so gently, because you have to coax these things. They have to be with love in your heart, because Mother Earth is like a love-based energy. That's why she heals us when we connect to her. And so when you are sending your love, what you're actually doing is you're raising the frequency of that environmental location. And so go outside and just feel the energy and just imagine. Activate your childlike mind and just allow it to be pulled up. And so when you do this, you can even feel a circular energy come in front of you. And so you should be able to feel it. When people become masters at doing this, you can also instantaneously change the weather. So this is a very real ability that each and every one of us has. Different types of vortex energetics can be called. So let's say, for an example, you want to try and manifest rain. So we know that rain pulses the density. And so how does it feel when it's about to rain? What's it smell like? How does it feel? What's the sensation feel? How does the snow feel? And so there's usually like a crisp air feeling before it's going to snow. So you can close your eyes. You can imagine you could trigger all these different emotions. You can do the same thing with the vortex energetic. So her personal gift had to do with water. And so water, you can either coax up the vortex in a lake or a creek, which then in turn, if you took a sample of the water and then you took an after sample after you called the vortex, you're going to notice that the frequency is going to be higher. You're not going to see these things right away unless you have opened your power of sight or vision. And so if you haven't opened the vision, you're not going to see the binary codex. You're not going to see the frequency raising. That's okay. You don't have to. You just have to believe it in your heart and allow it to come. Now, some ways that you can actually do this is by changing the weather. So let's take a cloudy day, for an example. Go out, put your feet on the ground. Generate the vortex. Thank the vortex. Well, I normally do that one directly inside my body. So I use my full body as an amplifier, because if I'm going to change the weather, I might as well put my chakras back into a realignment. And so I go and I hold, and this only takes less than a minute. You could do it in a split second and it will still work. There's no time and space. The second that you hold the emotion code, we really don't realize just how rapidly holding these emotion codes has an effect on the manifestation process. So a lot of times, if you're stuck with density in your energetic grids, you're not going to manifest that fast. You have to go through, you have to do the shadow work, you have to release your trauma, you have to do the energetic clearings on your grids. These are all natural process. It's just a part of what it is. This is what it is. You got to heal yourself first. And then all of a sudden, the hologram's like, oh, they're healed. They're very high frequency. Now we can start to allow them to control the environmentals. And so then all of a sudden, you're at a high enough frequency where you start playing around with it. And then all of a sudden, you start to see that it manifests for you. And so you just allow that vortex to come up each and every one of the chakra systems, and you'll feel like it kind of feels like someone touched you on the top of your head. And so then that's how you know that you're beaming the energy up and out. And so, and then just think it and hold the emotion code of beautiful blue sky, sunshiny, warm day. How does that feel? And so I always go back to Long Island. That's where I grew up. And I imagine that I'm on the beach. I put my feet in the sand. And then all of a sudden, this is how it feels when I'm in a sunshiny day. And yeah, I feel all those emotions. And then I notice a ring of blue will open up above my head. Does it happen every single time? No, but it's about a 95% rate. And not only that, I've seen other people do it. And not only that, I wanted it to be sunny, and both of my kids, because you got to realize 2 is powerful than 1, both of them wanted it to snow, and all of a sudden it started to snow. So the more people who come together and start practicing this, it's like having 2 energy sources compared to 1. And so 2 is always going to be stronger than 1. 3 is powerful because the power of 3 is a real thing. And so when we start having 3 people come together and doing mass meditations for world peace, for an example, you're going to start to see real shifts and changes in the hologram. The process of meditation, the star people are also saying, is we can go into meditation, pull the vortex energetic up, but it's also going to have a direct impact on each individual's heart chakra and those people who are physically around us. And so I just want you each to imagine for one moment that if you drop into a meditation state and all of a sudden you're feeling this vortex energetic come up and now you're connected. That's what it means to be connected. You can also connect, the star people are saying, you can connect while you're not in meditation. That's a very advanced light worker ability as well. And so you're allowing your kundalini to rise and connect. So when you start doing this during meditations with 2 or 3 people total, then all of a sudden, just imagine that it's like a net, a bubble is going to form like a rainbow, they're showing me. And so that is going to be very wide. And you're going to notice that your heart rate, because it's slower, because you're in the meditation, it's going to start to have a synchronicity effect on all people's heart rates around you. So let's take, for an example, why would we want to do this? Well, let's say that there's a riot in your town. And so your riot may be Washington, D.C. They had all that drama there. Well, we actually had all those riots in New York City as well. And so if you had 3 people, and 3 people sat down and they dropped into a meditation while all that was happening, that riot would be less and less and less. And so they found that when somebody is in meditation, the crime rates get reduced, the accidents get reduced, the anger, violence, all the negativity, all that stuff disappears. And so the future of humanity is going to include meditation centers. And you can even see this in like the Twitter office. They have meditation rooms. And so they know that people are more productive when they're connecting. Because when you connect to the source frequency, you are radiating a type of energetic field that has an effect on all people. So having a meditation room in your office or wherever you place a business is of high value. And actually, I would pay someone to come in and meditate, because when you pay them to meditate, that person, specifically if their chakras are all aligned and they've been doing this a while, they're going to project their energy. And it means that all people in the office building are going to start production at higher frequency ranges. So it's going to be, if you thought your employees were rock stars before, let someone come in and meditate and you see how productive they are after, because it's going to be amazing. Yeah, let's see. Such great info. I don't know what I did to the comments. Some of it is blocked. I don't know. We'll just keep going. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this one. I don't want to say anything that's going to get the video blocked. So I just had a comment come up, and it's 3333 on my live. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what will happen with the unawakened people and the people who did the pokey? We're going to say that. This way we don't get blocked. And so do we need to help them awaken? This is very important because we have to take a look at the science. How does the 100 monkey effect work? And so they gave fruit to the monkeys. And so the monkeys were eating the fruit with the sand on it. And so the humans came over and they showed the monkey how to take the fruit and wash the fruit off so that there was no sand on it. Once enough monkeys in a particular location, they all started washing the fruit because they caught on really quick. Then all of a sudden, the scientists realized that monkeys across the ocean on another continent, they started washing their fruit as well. And so nobody could figure out why. Each species has a consciousness grid that surrounds this planet. And so each plant, each insect, each animal, each person. So like each race of people. So if there is a genetic abnormality in the race, so the star people are saying different races. has its own consciousness grid. And so that's just because they're slightly different, and being slightly different allows you guys to all be linked to that energetic grid structure, which then in turn allows the source frequency to have a different perception of the holographic simulation. And so just imagine that they're showing me that it's just a way of breaking down the actual experiences is by breaking it down per human bodily design. And so this has a lot to do with the Pokey Poke too, because when you take that into consideration, that formed an energetic grid for all those people who had that experience. And so you can also have experiential frequencies directly tied into all the people. So just imagine it's kind of like a puppet string, but that's not really how it works. It's just a source frequency string. And so let's say that you, and you had, all three of you guys shared the same experience. You guys are all going to be attached to a consciousness grid attached to that experiential. That's what they're showing me. And so are we responsible to awaken these people? No, their higher self is automatically going to pre-program their awakening. Remember how each and every one of us is in our own independent timeline bubble. Now, I've noticed this as well, because when people, my parents have to wake up to this information and they have to prepare for the evolutionary shift. They never wake up that way. And so the second you toss your hands in the air and you're like, I can't help you, right? That's the second that they wake up every single time. And so what that is doing is you are releasing the resistance and allowing them to manifest their own experientials. And so just release the resistance, be at peace with what is. When you become at peace, you're releasing the resistance. It allows for new energetics to form in your personal timeline reality. There's another reality in which they never awaken. Yet there's another reality in which they have awakened. And so the potentials are endless for each and every individual. So the real power that we hold is in the now moment. And how do we take control of our binary codex and our frequency? Because when we learn to attune our frequencies and we learn to broadcast, or broadcasting, what does that mean? That means taking our frequency and casting it as broad as we can, so big, right? And so when we learn how to do that, you're taking control of the simulation, which basically is going to look like extrasensory abilities become activated. I've seen people bending spoons. The monks have levitated. I've had spontaneous manifestations happen in my life. I've made lightning a couple of times on accident. And so these abilities are real. People have moved tin foil. And so each and every one of us can do these things. You get yourself a little tea light, you put a little needle in it, right? So you could put a little thing of tin foil and let it spin. Then you put a big piece of glass, like a vase, over the top, so it's not your wind blowing it. And then you put your hands there and just allow it to spin. And so when you do this, you're eventually going to get it. It's going to manifest, especially the more and more you put focus on it. That's just the way it is. Now, if you knew that you could take a plant and you could send it love and light, like you're doing Reiki energetics, then all of a sudden you're going to see that plant grow 10 times the original size. If I showed you guys my plant, you'd be like, oh my God, the leaves were this big when I had bought it. And all the energy work that I've done, the leaves are this big now. That's not normal for the type of plant. It's a tree in a pot. It's supposed to be tiny. It's huge. And so, yeah. And not only that, but you can actually go into meditation and you can ask the plant its name. So my plant's name is Janet. And so I constantly am talking to her. You're beautiful. I love you. And she just grew and grew. Now you have to also realize that there's a type of physical connection to Mother Earth that occurs when you have a plant specifically by your bed. And so you're making a form of two-way communication with Mother Earth every single time that you have that energy in your home. And so they can also cleanse and purify the air, the energetics, right? And so there's many positive, beneficial reasons for having a plant next to you. And so we were told this in school. They said, oh, you guys will get better test scores if you have a little plant on your desk, right? And so who knew? Why does that happen? That's because of the connection that we hold with Mother Earth. And that's because Mother Earth actually takes that connection and she starts to heal us. So we're designed to be around Mother Nature as much as possible. And so even by allowing a little bit of Mother Nature into your home, or in the future, the Earth homes are really cool because they actually have greenhouses built into the outside of the home. So it's kind of like you go through the door and you're in the greenhouse, but it's still inside your home. And then all of a sudden you're growing your own food at the same time. It's wonderful, because imagine if you wanted an apple or something and then you just woke up, you went into the greenhouse, you grabbed your own apple. That's the future, how we are meant to be living. And so greenhouses and the way that we can grow food, it can go straight up the side of a skyscraper. And so that's going to make, like, New York City can have all this green lush growing on the buildings, and it can be clean and healthy and high frequency, and allow the humans to have the connection, right? And so that would help us heal. And so all of these things are going to be coming into our reality, specifically the more and more and more that we start to place focus, right? So years ago, I was doing this manifestation to drop purple grapes, is what I call it. Someone told me that. But I was doing manifestations to bring magic to all of humanity. And my visualization of it was taking purple circles and throwing it at the earth and letting it blow up and having the magic distributed to all of the people. And so that's just my mind and how I manifest. And so, but what happened? Now it's years and years later, and now I see people are starting to activate and wake up every single day. The manifestations work. So put it on a board, put it in front of you, see it, smell it, believe it, allow it to manifest. Do things like this for the entire collective, right? And not only that, but the more and more you're doing your manifestations for everyone involved. There's world peace. That's one of my favorite manifestations. Because if there's world peace, that means my children get to grow up in an environment where everyone is happy and healthy. Everyone has food. Everyone has shelter. And so these things are important to do besides our everyday tiny manifestations that we're doing for the self. We want to focus on the entire collective. And it's tiny. This isn't like something that you have to spend an hour doing. You can do it every single morning when you wake up. Thank you for world peace, right? Thank you for allowing all human beings to wake up to their true divine abilities and activation of their extrasensory gifts. Because when that activates, then just imagine that we have the ability to levitate. That's a frequency code that's inside of us. And so the trees are doing it automatically, because the trees are actually sucking up this vortex energetic, but it's not sucking up. It's levity. So it gets pushed up by Mother Earth. And so we've always been told the trees suck up the water to the tippity top. That's not the way it works. It's levity. So if the tree can generate levity in pushing this water up, how are they doing it? They're using a frequency. That's how they're doing it. And so when we start to access that frequency, then all of a sudden, which you can do right now during meditation. And so you're learning the access code to the levitation ability. And when you start continuously focusing on that, it's going to manifest stronger and stronger into your physical reality. Yeah. Excellent. I don't know how to do these comments. So the comments is like that. This side just got all blanked out on me, and then the comments are like super tiny. So I'll just go through my list. Excellent. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for watching. I was going to say, if you have questions, put them up, but I can't see them. Okay. I touched something. Okay. So what will happen with them when the solar flare happens? And so you have to realize this, the 100 monkey effect is going to kick in for that. And so when we wake up, that knowledge actually gets projected into the human consciousness grid, they're saying. And so that consciousness grid is going to start to have an impact on all people on the planet. And so you have a look at the 100 monkey effect, the same thing. The monkeys learn to wash the sand off. And so when enough of us become spiritually aware and we start focusing on our enlightenment, then all of a sudden the rest of the species is going to naturally start to wake up. You can already see this happening. You can see a spiritual revolution is taking place, because more and more people are starting to ask themselves questions. Why? Why is this happening? Right? And then not only that, but the solar flare that's coming, no one is going to be able to hide from that. Right? And so the star people showed me a vision of that. It sounded like 3 horns coming from the sun. It was like womp, womp, womp. And then they told me it's like a form of ultraviolet or gamma light that's going to hit us. So we may not necessarily see the actual flash, but it is going to happen if you are on the sun. So when that happens, now you have to realize the physical reality is not physical at all. So even if you have taken something that lowered your frequency, it doesn't matter. You have to be 51% on the positive polarity. So love and care and kind. If you're 51%, and it doesn't matter if your body is broken. So like, let's say for an example, these people are in a coma. Were they good people? Are they 51% positive polarity? Yes, then they made it. That's it, automatically. And so it's like a cocoon is going to also happen, they're saying. And so just imagine that your physical form is going to be recalibrating to the higher frequency range. And so that's going to happen. There will be guides, there will be extraterrestrials on the planet when this happens. If you are going to manifest a lower frequency chaos to come, there are also safety nets in place for the starseeds. And so I say this with 1,000% confidence. They know who we are. We came here to help people. And if by chance we are stuck in like a massive depression and we cannot do that, then just know that your star family, there's a very high probability, 99%, that they are going to come and get you before this happens. Many of us have stasis pod bodies now because the first wave, as Dolores Cannon calls it, the first wave of people, they got stuck here. And so they got stuck in a human form, then they got stuck on the reincarnation cycles. And so now the second and third wave that's like us. And so we were like, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a stasis pod body, and God forbid something bad happens, just yank us out, right? So they can either yank us out and put us in the stasis pod body, or they can physically pick up this body. It all depends on what you guys worked out with your home star family before you actually came here. So do not have any fear of them yanking your soul out of your body and then it's because that's kind of like a death. It's not really a death because you're just going back to where you came from. If that's what you picked. Some people, they may just pull you up and out, and then they put you in like a school, they're saying. And the school is basically to get you accustomed to the way that your home-based planet does things. So they'll also actually be going through and unlocking your memory grids, they're saying. And so you'll have the memory of the past life come back to you. It's going to be fragmented because they don't want to scare people. So just baby steps. Yeah. Jeannie has said the same. The coronal hole being is seeing the ejection point. Jeannie is, I don't know who Jeannie is. Thank you for your first life. Yeah, thank you very much for coming, Star. Excellent. So yeah, we do not have to worry about any physical diseases or abnormalities. None of that stuff matters, right? And you have to realize that even if you took a liquid, you put a liquid in your body that doesn't go there and it caused damage, it's still a holographic simulation. And so you guys, we're all divine beings. We are all made of stars, we're made of everything. Everything in the physical reality is us. It's all a reflection of what you're seeing. So your energetic is what makes up everything. So this is also how the food works, because if you notice, you may eat something like McDonald's. We'll take McDonald's as a perfect example. If I eat McDonald's right now, I get sick because I'm aware, right? But there's some people out there that it has zero effect on them. And they're just like the happiest people, happy-go-lucky. There's some people out there who smoke cigars or cigarettes, and they never get cancer. They never get sick. So why is that? That's because they're not activating the distortion. And so their energetics are actually protecting them against the disease. Everything negative that happens to us, whether it be a wrinkle, a cut, a bruise, anything, any disease or distortion, it has to be activated in the energy first. All of it. And so this is the future of the technology as well, because now we know this. So now how can we protect our energy? So we're learning it right now, how to do Reiki. We're learning how to cast on each other, not using technology, because we want to activate, we want to be fully enlightened to a point, but we want to activate the extrasensory abilities first, because that always comes before full enlightenment. Full enlightenment is like, you really have to place your focus on being a really good person and loving, caring, kind to get there. And so the monks right now on the planet, they cannot have a negative thought in 10 years. And then they're activating their rainbow body of light. And so that's one way of doing it. We're not going to do that. We're here for the solar flash. We are here to show humanity, hey, there's a better way of living. And we can live in connection with nature. We can live in harmony with each other. We could be loving, caring, kind. We could forgive. And so if you curse me out, I'm sending you love and light. I forgive you, right? And so I don't cast negativity at people. I refuse to do it. If I'm even going to attempt to even entertain that thought, I'm like, okay, I'm taking a break. I got to walk away, and I go and I rebalance myself right away. Because, your old emotions and your old cycles, they do come up. And so let's say, for an example, if you have an anger, and anger has been a topic of all of last week. And so anger's been coming up. It's no wonder why the weather is what it is today, because the anger it actually looks like a static electricity in the energetic grids. And so now I know what it looks like. And so whenever I see it like that, it's like a fluctuating, kind of like plasma, a little bit, but it's a fluctuation. When someone has that, that cycle is going to continuously repeat until they break the cycle. And so anytime you feel like you have anger, sending it love and light and being at peace with it, that's how you start to break the cycle. It may take you 2 or 3 times to break because it's not always right away. And so you have to go inside and feel the emotion of when was the first time you experienced anger or frustration. You go in and you heal then, and it changes how you respond in the now moment. And so you'll notice a lot of people who get to a very high spiritual level, they have dealt with all sorts of darkness. They have walked through the fire. And those people, then they go and they heal all that stuff. And then they have the ability to tune into the higher frequencies very rapidly. Now, yeah, there's a lot of people who were sent here to do just that. And so I know, because I'm one of them. I walked through fire. I got burnt. I got roasted. And so, but it's fine because then I went through and I healed all of it. And so many of you guys have done it too. You may have felt like you didn't belong at some point, like you were too loving, caring, kind for this reality, right? You may have even stood up for people and then just have all those people turn their backs on you. And so that is actually a main sign of being an advanced light worker. And so it just means that you've came here to heal and to heal yourself first and then to cast. And so you have to cast your love, cast your manifestations for world peace and all that stuff into the environmentals. And so you'll be surprised how quickly you'll start to see reflections. I started doing them and I started asking everyone on my lives to send this healing to the ocean. And then all of a sudden I started getting reflections left and right of the ocean being healed. So I saw a TikTok, there was boats, they were picking up the trash. There was another company who put these rings inside the ocean, picking up the trash. And so those are all reflections. So whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, you don't have to physically go to the ocean and pluck out the trash. You'll start to see the reflections. And then that means that it's going to be healed because you're sending your conscious focus onto that topic. And so the more and more you start casting, this is casting your energetics to these different topics and sending it love and light, and just visually seeing it as healed, visually seeing world peace. What does that look like to you guys? Because I know exactly what world peace looks like to me. Meditation centers all around, teaching people how to open up their abilities, all sorts of things, putting people into frequency pods so that, let's say you're having trouble healing something, all of a sudden the healing pod could do it for you. Yeah. I was cleaning up my kitchen as I was listening to you and I was picking up the foil. You literally said I've had people move aluminum foil. Yeah, that's a synchronicity. That happens all the time for me, all the time. What about parents who want money from you, things like vacations, and you say no but feel guilty, you think it's the right thing? That's a cycle that you have to deal with. And so me personally, I would hand my parents all my money. I don't care. Right here, take it. Go have a vacation, enjoy your lives. You know why? Because the more you give out, the more it teaches you to become secure. And so I actually went through a period in my time where I was like, we need $3.25 for my iced coffee, right? Somehow the universe was like, oh, here it is, right? And so there was one night, it was like 3:00 in the morning. We were doing Uber. We actually stopped in a Dunkin' Donuts. I had $100 bill and I had 3 singles wrapped in a receipt. So I know for a fact it was 3 singles. And so I showed the man the 100. He was like, I'm not taking that. This is New York. They're not taking 100. And so then I was like, all I have is 3 singles. All of my credit cards were tapped. And so I stretched out the 3 singles on the counter. Now I thought the bill was like $12. And so I looked at it and I'm like, just 3 singles. It turned into a 10 and 2 singles. So that was $12 and I had enough. And I was like, oh my God. And I knew that the money had changed. But then the man pointed at the cash register and it was old and like foggy. And he was like, it's 16. And I was like, I don't have 16. And he saw what I saw. There was clearly $12 there. And so I took it again and I stretched it out on the counter and it changed to a 10, a 5, and a 1. Then I had enough. And so that will happen to every single person when you are high frequency. So we were running around, we were laughing all day, we were having bliss, we were going to the beach, we were grounding out, doing meditations, eating salads, laughing all day long. And so everyone can do this. That's tuning into a very high frequency. But you'll start to see the universe will gift you any and all money or abundance or anything that you need. It will start to be delivered to you when you are holding a high frequency. The quickest and fastest way to learn how to harness that ability is by having nothing. I don't make the rules. I just know that when you have nothing, it starts to unlock your belief patterns, because then all of a sudden you're like, I will always have exactly what I need in the now moment. And you have to have nothing to go through that. And so when you experience that, and I know people who watch me who are going through that now. There's a couple of you. And I'm like, listen, it's a learning lesson, because that's the universe is trying to teach you guys how to unlock instantaneous manifestation. And so every single bill, let's say your light bill, right? Let's say it's due today. You owe $75, right? Or $200. You can make a phone call and you can tell them, can I give you a partial payment? And then in 2 or 3 days, you call them again, you do it again. And then all of a sudden you've extended it. And so the money came when you needed it. And so you didn't need the whole thing. There's wiggle room in the holographic simulation. And so you think that you need $1 million in your bank account, but you don't. How much money are you going to spend today? That's actually technically all we need. And so the more that you show the universe, well, you know what? I had all this money. I gave it all away. So now the next day, what's going to happen? The universe is going to say, well, they're magnetically aligned to having this much money because they are going to use it. So every day you're going to be manifesting more and more money. Here's one example. Take a look at Mr. Beast. Okay, so that guy, he's on TikTok. My kids watch him. He walks around handing out $10,000 to people. So he started small. And he started handing out money. And then the universe is like, he needs more money because he's using it. He's handing it out. And now all of a sudden he's making all this money and he hands it out. That's good deeds. We were told to share and care. And there will always be abundance. That's how it works. That's a whole trick. It's a secret. And so when you do that, all of a sudden you're actually unlocking a higher frequency of manifestation. And so, yeah, I encourage everyone, but take it in baby steps, right? So you do not have to go and give your parents all the money. Me, I've unlocked the ability. So I have no fear. And so that's, give it all away. Who cares? And actually, I've done that. I've done that in July. So in July, and the star people had to help me do this, but they had me take 95% of my physical items and I donated everything. Now, here it is. It's not even 6 months later, and I feel like I need to do it again. So the abundance is just dropping stuff, like piles and piles, like all the crystals. I got rid of a whole lot of crystals. Now it's back. And so, yeah, so that's why I started actually the crystal gifting program. And so, yeah, people have been sending in more crystals. And so everyone who purchases a crystal box from us, we load the box full of as many crystals as I could fit in the box. I'm not even kidding with you. So, like, I went to the store and I paid, let me see, I paid like $10 for one tiny little crystal, or 15, I didn't pay for this one, but it cost 15. And so we're taking this tiny little box and we're jam packing it full. This is nice. And so it's just a way, and actually someone donated keychains. And so now we'll be adding the keychains into those too. But it's a really good way of taking our crystals and sharing and caring. And anybody who sends us crystals, we're going to give you guys a Zoom link. And so this way you can come into the monthly inner Zoom session, which is actually taking place this Saturday. So this Saturday, I'm going live from 7 to 7:30 with you guys. And then after that, we start the inner Zoom. So you guys will get to come on and ask your questions and get real-time answers from me. I know the comments is like really confusing, like I could barely see it. But yeah, should teach them how to manifest it from their point of view. You know what? I tried to teach my parents. I'm like, listen, if you open an LLC, you get all these tax breaks, They are just, sometimes like the adults, they get stuck in their ways sometimes. And so maybe it's not right for them, because I was told my parents all this stuff. And then I had a dream that they got hurt because of the information I gave them. And that's when I was like, no, they need to do their own. And if the way that they've been doing it works for them, let them do it that way. Because if they get hurt, it's going to be like your fault. Right. So that was in my reality. So I just don't. Yeah. Excellent. World peace has so many scenarios. Very few are happy. I don't believe that at all. I think that that's all a perception. And so world peace can happen overnight. We don't have to change too many things to have world peace, right? And so people could just start communicating with one another. When I was a kid, I used to know every single one of my neighbors. So I used to go outside. We all used to talk. We used to have, picnics and barbecues all together. Everyone waved. Everyone was nice and happy. We don't do that anymore. And not only that, but I won't let my kids go walk down the block alone. It's very sheltered now because there's a fear, right? And so that's specifically in New York. In New York, you keep your kids as close as you can, right? And so they had kidnappings at the bus stops and all that stuff. So it's different. So when you really start to learn your neighbors and to show community and support, and everyone starts to talk to each other, you become, you know each other. It's different. That's a different level of consciousness, and it's coming together in unity consciousness is what it is. When the solar flare happens, actually, unity consciousness is going to become activated. So I've actually been having dreams that I'm talking and talking and talking to you guys on the camera, and then all of a sudden my thought process just reaches a very high frequency, and then all of a sudden it snaps and you guys start getting telepathic information. And so it's a form of not speaking. And so just pay attention, because I know that that's going to happen on one of these lives in time. And so, but that's also the baby step process into unity consciousness. Because when that happens, and somebody, you only need one person on the planet to do it. When that happens and they can download the information super, super quick, and then all of a sudden it's telepathically beamed to multiple people at once, then all of a sudden unity consciousness starts to flow. Because remember the power of 3? So the star people are saying when that happens, it's the telepathy is hitting multiple people at one time, which is allowing the belief system and the power 3 to fire up, which then in turn starts the process of activation of unity consciousness. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so let's see. I can't believe I only made it through 3 questions. Like, normally I have 10. Okay, this one. Saw a green jewel in her eye on the morning. What does it mean? So each color means different things. It's allowing your consciousness to view into each chakra subsystem. I started to get the answer as I was writing it out. And so, yeah, when you see green in your meditation, it also means that your brainwave is in alpha frequency. And so whenever you see green, specifically when you're waking up in the morning, your brainwave patterns is tuning into theta. And so the higher self is directly looking at you. Wow. Now just imagine that your soul is coming into the physical form every single morning. So of course your higher self is going to be witnessing or watching that process to make sure that you slip into your biological form every morning safely. This process happens automatically. So some of you may have felt your popping of into the body, and that happens. And so you can feel it. You can even train yourself to feel it. When you see that green, it also means that that's time to fire off your manifestations. And so right away, the second you see green, you want to, okay, I want to manifest X, Y, and Z. And then just kick back and wait, because the higher self is going to gift you a visual representation of what that timeline looks like. And then just kick back, and you know, the second that you get the visual, you know that you've magnetically been placed on that timeline to manifest it. This also has a lot to do with the dreamwalker ability, the star people are saying, because the dreamwalker ability has the potential to make timeline shifts and changes into your physical reality. And so just imagine that you become lucid in your dream. While you're lucid in that dream, you are experiencing different location codes. And so those location codes you can then pull on like a string. And so you can absorb the frequency of whatever that dream is. Then when you wake up in the morning, you hold that frequency of whatever experience was in your dream. And then all of a sudden, it will manifest that into your physical reality. Every single experience that we have has an emotion code. Emotion codes are exactly how we manifest anything into the physical reality. So by learning how to handle emotion codes, thoughts, and energy projection, that's basically what gives you access into the control panel of the simulation. The control panel is inside your subconscious mind. And so you're using your visualization, your childlike mind, your solar plexus pulls the energy in, your passion fires it up. And so when you start to activate all these systems and you start to really become creative and see what you want and smell it, feel it, taste it, and touch it, all the senses, you can use every single sense to manifest something. You can imagine sitting in a car and smell, how does a brand new leather smell? And then all of these different senses are going to manifest that experience into your physical reality. So yeah, very important. Yeah, the green. Once you see green, do the manifestation. How are pyramids built? Tell me about the cat realm and the beast. So once again, the cat realms and the beast, there's many different dimensions. There's many different cat people. There's billions of cat people, first of all. There's lion people, there's cat people, there's tiger people, and you could see them. You could see their face. Like if you meditate, you could see like thousands of cat people faces flashing when you try and call upon these people. You have to really be very specific with a particular species. Because just imagine on this one earth, we have multiple cultures on this earth, right? And so we see ourselves as a tiny bit divided. Well, those people, even though they're in a cat form, there's a billion different types. There's big ones, there's small ones, there's leopard ones, right? So, but then not only that, there's also parallel realities. So a species could be nice and polite in my reality, and they could be evil in another one. And so we also have to look at the mirror dimension. So you realize that everything shifts in fours. And so this is just, we have 4 seasons, star people are saying. So pay attention to that. So the infinity sign, this is how a toroidal field looks. This is inside your aura field. And so Mother Earth is also doing this. However, you have a positive polarity and a negative polarity. So this physical reality is reflected into the mirror dimension. So we have positive here. Let's say, well, say I'm positive here. In the mirror dimension, there's my evil reflection. And so it's just the way it is. So it's kind of like a reversed reality of what is here. And so but you got both sides, the positive and the negative, you're having the same exact experiences. And so this is the big kick of it all, because like, let's say, for example, I woke up this morning, I did work, I cleaned the house, I made some food, right? The mirror dimension, they're doing the same exact thing, but they're doing it with anger, right? They're doing it with negativity. They're like the dark Sith, right? So I'm trying to activate the love emotion codes for everybody and activate the extrasensory abilities. The mirror dimension version of me is trying to activate the evil people, right? And so there has been like beings can come and go from the mirror reality. So, but the thing is that it's kind of like, let's say the evil version of me came over here. There can only be one version of me. And so one of us has got to die. That's basically how it works. And so like if we touched each other, it would cause an explosion. So that's just what the star people say. And so you just have to realize that these things are real in the holographic simulation. It's just part of it. But it goes times 4. So there's actually 4 different Earths that are always rotating. And so you take a look at the toroidal field, right? It's a square. There's 4. There's only 4 that we can see right now, or the star people are saying there's 4 that we are aware of. However, when you start raising up in frequencies, you will start to see 8. And so that 8 is directly tied into the Merkaba field and the personality grid. Personality grid is octagonal. So if you take a look at the shape, it has 8 points, 1, 2, right? So 4 and 4 on the cube. So that's kind of how this system works. Everything comes from inside of you. So your energetic grid has a sacred geometric shape, and that reflects out into the solar system as well as other parallel realities. And so it gets complicated and confusing. But yeah, it's scientific. And so when you start to learn all that information, it's like, oh, okay, well, we really are connected to everything. So yeah, it's amazing. Excellent. Okay, so how are the pyramids built? The pyramids, once again, in my reality, in my timeline, they were built from the top down. And so they had anti-gravity or levitation devices. And so they were able to put, and then not only that, but it's very rapid. And so if we tried to build the pyramids, it would take us years. How many years does it take them to put up a skyscraper or just to make a building, right? And so the power of consciousness, your consciousness can actually go and it could manifest the pyramid instantaneously. And so you have to realize that the people putting the pyramids together back then, they had these abilities activated. There's no way that they didn't. They had high technology. They had anti-gravity. They had the yogis, right? So Yoda, that being with the green ears, yeah. And so those people are real. The Jedi are real. They're in the solar system, and they actually do work with the star people. And so I've had dreams with them. But they primarily teach people releasing resistance. And so releasing resistance and being at peace with everything. And they're non-political. And so they see the negativity and they send it love and light. They meditate. And then that negativity, it just doesn't enter their reality. And so when you have a lot of extraterrestrials, you may hear other channels speak about, this is happening in the solar system, that's happening. And that could potentially be a very physically focused experience. And so that's fine because it's attuned to a certain level of consciousness. When you start working with very high frequency extraterrestrials, They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care who's trying to blow up who. None of that stuff matters, because if you fine tune your own energetics, that stuff just doesn't happen in your reality. You won't see it. You won't tune into a reality in which it manifests. And so that can be kind of hard for people to grasp, but that's just the way it is. So the more love and light, and here's an example for you. So my life, I very rarely have drama or chaos. None of that stuff exists in my reality. I blocked off the TV. I put a blanket over it. I do not watch the news. Not to say that I don't care about world politics. If somebody sends me a message and they're saying, hey, we have bad weather, I'm the first person to drop into a meditation and send it love and light. But I'm not going to purposely sit there and watch negative information. It is okay to disconnect from that system. The more people, specifically the meditators and the light workers and the starseeds, the more of us that disconnect from that programming, and we come inside of ourselves and we shine our love and light, and we are happy and blissful and joyous, and we activate our childlike mind, and we make bubbles, and we draw with chalk, and we do all these amazing things, and we have fun. And we visualize and we see a brighter future for everyone. We're actually doing more good in the world than anyone who's watching the news. That news fires off your fight or flight system, and you're putting an energetic into the grids that's causing more of that to manifest for your personal reality. And so the second that you start focusing on being of love and light, that's it. Then all of a sudden, more of that is going to manifest. You're going to magnetically draw it in. Now, many of us do realize also that we're on mission. And so the mission is basically to come here, right, to reincarnate into a human body in order to do work like this, where we're having these types of conversations. And even if you guys are just listening, fire off one ability, all of a sudden that ability goes into the human consciousness grids, and then it starts to reflect out. Because when one person has a thought or an ability tunes in, it has to come in 3 people at once. And so 3 people, then all of a sudden it's like a ripple effect. More and more people will wake up to it. So you do not have to go out and put yourself on video. Just do whatever's in your mind and whatever your intuition tells you to do. This way you do it safely. Yeah. Okay. So there was one more question by Amanda. And so she wants to know about the unicorn realm and earthly unicorns as well. So we did have a horse with a horn. And so bones have been found on Earth in my reality. I've seen videos of it. And so could it be fake? It could be fake, but they found giants on this Earth, right? And so who knows what's real and what's fake? The aquafarians are real. They do live in the ocean. Unicorns are real. And so you have to realize the way the simulation works. Anything that you perceive can be real somewhere in the solar system. And so just a child taking a drawing, making a horse and putting a horn on it, that automatically, that was a thought that was downloaded. So any thoughts that get downloaded into the human form can be real somewhere. Now, this dives into the author code. I have a post out somewhere. It's called the author code. Maybe I'll put it up on Facebook, but it shows us how we can take our consciousness and project thoughts, images, ideas onto paper, and we can thank the universe for manifesting it. It will be real somewhere. Now, there's quantum codex books that have been found on this Earth. The quantum codex books are basically like a supercomputer wrote it with all potentiality is in the quantum codex book. But not only that, it's kind of like a code inside the book. So they found like the Bible code. That's one example of this. And so when an author sits there and writes like Mickey Mouse, right? And so that's a generated character. All of a sudden they started noticing that Mickey Mouse was in that codex book. And so all thoughts end up in the codex. All ideas, all concepts, all beings that get drawn by little children, they're all in the codex. Especially when you name them, it hits the codex. And so it's a holographic simulation, and anything that you can think or perceive or draw or imagine, it makes it real. And so we can even sit here and we can even take this has been done. And so you can sit here and you can project an image. And so that image, let's say you want to project a person, a gnolum, I think they call them. And so you can actually generate a conscious person by just believing that someone is standing next to you. That's how powerful we are. And that's how quickly we can manifest things. Do I recommend doing it? No, because it's like having a baby. You're now responsible for whatever you create. And so you want to be very careful with your manifestations when it comes to things like that, until we're a little bit more advanced and we understand how to handle the situation. But yeah, it's a real thing. You are able to do it. Yeah, so we're reaching almost an hour and a half. So it's an hour and 13 minutes. So I'm just going to go over I do offer sessions. Anyone who wants to hop on a phone call, I do a full energetic clearing before and after the session. And so we do bring forward your star family. Any information that you need to level you to the next level comes across. So it's all about evolution. And so how can you make it so you can release the density, level up? What information do you need to hear? I've had extraterrestrials showing up in people's bedrooms. People are bending spoons. People are changing the weather. So there's amazing activations and just DNA crystalline activations and upgrades that take place during my sessions. Many of you guys have had sessions. And so I always like to hear, come back and tell me what changed, what's different. And so, yeah, it's just so much fun. I also offer healing sessions. So if you feel like you need to really, maybe you feel trapped or stuck, we go into the energetics and we start to release those emotions. And so that's also up. All these services are at daniellelipton.com under purchase a session, I think. And so the crystal packages, we're only going to be doing this for a limited amount of time. And so we've received a lot of crystals. That's why I want to shove them all in the boxes for you guys. And like really as much as I can fit is going to go in there. And so we've had an overabundance. Thank you guys so very much for donating to us. And so, yeah, it's just amazing. So those are also up daniellelipton.com. So if you purchase a box from us, we're going to be doing the donation crystals as well as other items that I personally got. This way we can fill it up with some new and then some, some shared crystals. Each crystal we also go through and we do a blessing on. So the star people come forward, we do DNA activations, we do healing, whatever is necessary for the person. There's a lot of telepathy with me and the star people, so they show me. And so they program each and every crystal for the person. So it's really amazing. So I've had people get the crystal boxes and then they can feel the energetics pulsing off of the crystal. So it's really, really, it's just a blessing to watch people and then interacting with this. It's just cool. So yeah, we do that. What else? So we have Star People Group. That's on Facebook. So if you guys want, that's where I post all my posts to. So there's also triolifeorganization.com and the Danielle Lipton Facebook profile. So if you guys send me a message, you can even send a message to daniellelipton.com page. And so send in any questions for the next live. And so then I normally just write them down and I go over all the questions that you guys have. This past week, you guys, you did amazing. Amazing sessions, truly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having the session with me. And it really is a blessing because, I really feel like my empathy abilities it's skyrocketed. And so now, when I'm around people, I know right away what needs to be healed and I can go in and clear attachments and all sorts of stuff. So it's a blessing. And it's the same as manifestation. The more and more you focus on your extrasensory abilities, and not only that, but when you kind of make it a need, it's not really a need, but it's like, hey, I kind of need this ability to do this type of work. Then all of a sudden it will come full strength. And so the more you start focusing on your telepathy, you allow the telepathy to form. The star people, they want to talk to each and every one of us. They do not want people channeling for them. They want everybody talking, making communication with them. And so where do I purchase the crystal boxes? Are at daniellelipton.com. And so it's under purchase a session and just scroll all the way down and it's there. Yeah. Each and every one of us should be trying to make contact and communication with the star people. And so this is very important. So I want you guys to start talking to the little voice inside your mind. If it's any negative thoughts, it is not the star people. Any negative thoughts, that's a good topic that came up. Any negative thoughts, you want to grab them and throw them into a trash bin and say, I do not accept. Or get off, go home, because it could potentially be an attachment. And so start handling your emotions the same exact way. Any negative emotions that come up, say you feel less than, right? So imagine just grabbing that emotion, throwing it in the trash can. We don't need that. We need to feel good, right? Not only that, but each and every one of us is divine. And so what does that mean? That means that each one of us, we're a piece of the puzzle. And so I have my abilities. I have my attunements of things I'm good at. I'm not good at everything. You guys have your attunements, things that you're good at. Everyone is a puzzle piece. And so we're only going to see the full picture when we put all of us together. That's unity consciousness. And so when you realize that, then you realize, well, wait a minute, the collective needs me. And I'm getting full body chills just telling you this. And so if the collective needs you, that means that you have a value. And that means that you belong with us and we're family. So take that as food for thought, because that's exactly how we need to be treating each other. And when we treat each other like that, like each and every person, even the people who are going through the darkness, especially those people, because those people going through the darkness, they actually have the potential to slingshot into the light and actually heal a lot of people at once. And so that's just, it is the way it is. When you look at a frequency wave, goes up and down, it's actually circular in nature and it's like a vortex, but you look at it, it goes up and down. There's always a line in the middle of that frequency wave. And so the amount of darkness that you hit is the amount of light that you can reach. And so my path, I've walked through darkness. You guys would be terrified if I told you everything. And so that's by being a cripple and pain meds and alcohol and all that stuff. It's a nightmare. And being in pain really is like the best blessing of your life, because the pain allows you to be at such a dense level. And then all of a sudden, when you heal that, you can actually heal it very rapidly. I healed all my pain in about 2.5 weeks, but it allows you to slingshot into the crystalline realms very rapidly. And so that's any type of physical pain, because it's helping to release the density that we hold. So yeah, story of my life. That's actually what a lot of light workers say though, right? Is that they came and then they experienced all this darkness, this density. You guys are not alone. I was the black sheep, right? I wear that like a badge of honor now, because I know that we came here to manifest into these families in order to help heal. And so you do not have to physically go to each family member and heal them. What you have to do is you have to heal yourself, because it actually heals the energetics for the entire family. And so, yeah, just by walking your darkness and healing yourself, you're healing the entire family, which then in turn it passes on to the kids. And so once again, diseases, distortions, any addictive patterning, it's in the energetic grids. And so people always knew that I had addictive patternings even as a child. I walked around drinking soda for over 20 years, like by the 2-liter, like ridiculous. Now I look back, I'm like, it was so ridiculous. But yeah, but that was a magnetic experience that I was designed to go through to heal the addictive patterning for the entire family. And so you can't look at them as if, oh, it was me and you negative. No, you have to see the positive. You came here to overcome something. When you overcome something, you hold it like a badge of honor. This is why we're supposed to love the broken pieces of ourselves as well. Anything that's broken can always be healed. The technology that the star people have can heal anything as well. And so imagine that light is this is a simulation, and by changing a frequency code, you can go in and you can completely heal the human form. Now, salamanders and lizards, if you cut their tail off or you cut their leg off, they'll regrow it back. So their codons come activated for regrowth of the biological form. That's a codon. That's a genetic expression. Inside each and every one of us, the junk DNA has these codons that all we have to do is go and turn them on. This is connected into the crystalline DNA system. So invincibility and being immortal is actually a real thing. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds woo-woo, but the higher your frequency and the more you consciously place your focus on activation of these genetic abilities, it will eventually manifest in your physical form. The shapeshifter ability, same exact thing. You could change your eye color, your hair color, all sorts of things just by going inside yourself. These are real abilities. These are extrasensory gifts. Now, we know we have a sense of magnetism as well. That's directly tied into the earth magnetism and the location codes. So that gift is also going to be upgraded. You have hematite and magnetite crystals inside your brain. Now, inside the pineal gland is actually a hexagonal type of crystal as well. That's directly tied into your heart, because your heart chakra radiates your emotions. Your emotion grid is hexagonal. So when you put the third eye, which is electrical in its nature, it fires off the same as your regular eye. It's the same exact thing. It's a mirror. And so when you see this, the electricity fires off inside the pineal gland and it connects into the hexagonal of the heart. And it actually, there's a third chakra that's pulling the energy in your solar plexus. It's right in the center of your belly button. You're pulling the energy and you're activating all three of these things, because everything gets manifest by three, including what's inside of us. Then all of a sudden, you're actually activating a very advanced high frequency level of manifestation. And so this is what advanced magicians would have looked like. They would have had these three chakras activated. They would have gone into the pineal and they would have broadcast their electrical systems, which then in turn allowed them to instantaneously manifest. That includes the ability to instantaneously heal your physical form as well as heal the environment. And then you take it one step further. And like, let's say, for an example, somebody needs a house. In time, we will be able to snap, and then there's their house. It's there. And so That's game over when that happens. The solar flare is going to activate that inside of us. However, you can activate it now. You do not have to wait. Many of us came from realms and higher frequencies in which we had these gifts activated. And so you may start to notice the gifts sporadically spawn. And so you may start to notice little tiny bits of the gift. The level 1 normally activates first. So yeah, it's just important to place your focus on it and don't stop, right? Because we've all been trapped in a physical reality. That's not physical at all. It's a hologram. It's a simulation. Not only is it that, but it's a light wave and a frequency, and we are master frequency generators. That is how the human form works. Yeah, excellent. Okay. What was this one? Interesting that you were talking about DNA junk, because I'm reading a book about genetics and junk DNA and the quantum physics. Yeah. So that's actually a synchronicity for you that you're on the right path, because all of the information, like they show me the entire puzzle and how everything fits together. But you can take any one of the puzzle pieces and you could dive into it. The hologram it works like a fractal. Once again, this goes back to sacred geometry and phi and the binary codex. So it spirals out, right? And so a fractal, imagine that, I always do Call of Duty. That's the one that my kid used to play. He doesn't play it anymore. But you're in a screen, and then all of a sudden you pull it out, and you're in another screen inside the screen. And so your little character seems to be walking, and you seem to be going along a path. But what's actually happening is that picture is flipping, and then another picture with the different realities behind it and behind it and behind it. That's actually how the simulation works. I've seen it, so I know that that's how it works. So what you want to do, and also that's also how instantaneous teleportation works. So if you know that this is a picture with a picture behind it and a picture behind it, right? It's flickering so fast because of the way time-space is programmed, right? We are automatically running time-space, but the second that you're happy, time starts to fly. So that's telling us that our emotion codes have an effect on time-space. When you start to go into the time-space frequency wave, you can slow down that flicker rate of the photos that you are witnessing, and then it gives you access to instantaneous teleportation abilities. That's real too. And so there's so many different things that are real. There's 365 extrasensory abilities. We've only begun to tap into a handful of them. There's so many more. Yeah, so with that being said, you guys have a great night. Sandra, nice to see you. Very welcome, welcome. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Tomorrow, I believe I'm going on at 8. And so I'm going to put a posting up on my Facebook. Yeah. So if anyone wants to have a session, also, this is important because we did the Black Friday sale, so we took $100 off the price of the session. So I encouraged everyone, and there's been a bunch of people who bought multiple sessions at once. And automatically, when you buy 5, we give you a 6th one free. So anyone who wants to stock up on their sessions, you can pre-order them. And so that's on sale now. At the end of this week, the price goes back up. So this is only like the Black Friday sale has been extended. So yeah, many, many love and blessings. You guys have a great night. And I hope to see you activate any extrasensory ability. Send me a message so I can see. Excellent. You guys have many love and blessings and have a great night.